This is truly the real big event of the week. 5 was not enough. We needed 7 recently released albums for you guys to check out this week, mainly because of this sick guy. No, that's not gimmick infringement. I have been sick as shit for the past couple days, and so it's kind of made this a necessity. So without further ado, we're just going to go ahead and get into it. That way I get through this. Here are 7 recently released albums that have come within the past week that you need to scope out. And the first of which being The Empire by Vader. Vader is a long-running death metal / thrash metal band, and this is an album that showcases the combination of those two sides very nicely. This band started off more with speed as their sort of identity and then evolved into more of a death metal side. This is an album that is only 33 minutes in length and 10 tracks, so like the Deathspell Omega album we spoke about yesterday, this is not a large time investment, but it blisters and thunders its way through its shortest tracks, which can span as short as 2 minutes and 16 seconds, which is Angels of Steel, the very first track that you encounter. This is uncompromising at times, and whenever this album does go into the 4.5 minute range with a track such as Iron Rain, you start to hear some of the death metal stylings that also made Vader a bit of a household name in this department, at least for those that enjoy death metal. These Polish giants continue to just really steamroll over listeners with this disc. If you are a long-standing member of the Vader Empire, you will love this disc. It does have all of those trademarks. It's a fun listen for 33 minutes. You just sort of get bowled over by this. And for those who are perhaps looking into getting into some more death metal, that like something that has a little bit of a secondary tie with such as a thrash metal or something of this, Gabriel, I'm looking at you, buddy. I know you're watching this. Scope out Vader's The Empire. I have a feeling you're going to enjoy this quite a bit. Our second exploration comes in the form of Clouds with Departe, and this is a bit of a supergroup of sorts whenever it comes to atmospheric doom, at least on the vocal horizon, considering this is a group that features 3 vocalists that intermingle their talents within this 6-track affair. Their prior membership includes bands such as Eye of Solitude, Barren Earth, as well as Officium Triste. So you definitely have some styles that are familiar to some. We talked about an Eye of Solitude album earlier this year on this very series entitled Cenotaph. Now this 6-track affair is one that has a lot of those atmospheric registers that you're really becoming very accustomed to if you've been scoping out anything of this guise throughout this series. It has a very slow build. This is doom that is not trying to go anywhere all of that fast, and the vocals are able to range into a really kind of low-pitched, kind of soft beauty all the way up into the dirtiest and the grimiest of the growls. And based off of that, it does open a lot of doors for Clouds to get a little bit, real atmospheric, real beautiful, either that or just really paint a picture as they are attempting to really get these compositions moving. Now, there's only one track off of this disc that does not eclipse the 10-minute mark, so this can be a little bit of a trial for those who are not used to something of this variety. But tracks such as In All the Dark, either that or Driftwood, both are just shining and shimmering examples as to how the different vocalists and having sort of all of these options together really paints a very different portrait on each and every song, giving that individuality that so oftentimes is perhaps lost whenever you have just a very monochrome or one option and the vocal helm. And it also gives the musicians that surround these 3 men the opportunity to expand their horizons compositionally, which makes this an extremely unique and very cool listen for those that enjoy the atmospheric doom environment. If you're one of those such, you will definitely dig this one. Don't sleep on it. Check it out. Call this intermission if you want, but Curved Air with the album Curved Space. Now this is one of the very earliest versions of a progressive rock band from the UK. These guys were big in the 1970s, and they have returned here. This is part of their Rarity series, which is why it will feel sort of like an intermission. This may not be really essential for everybody, but those who are prog heads may really dig this. This is instrumental work. It's part of the Rarity series for Curved Air that also includes albums such as Infinity, and this is 3 of their members tackling these compositions. And what's interesting about this is how you can hear the dates on these songs. I can hear the 1970s laced throughout these 9 compositions, and Towards Tomorrow really gives you and grants you that real illusion. If you go in here fresh, you're going to expect to hear vocals somewhere throughout this, but then you don't get it. It almost sounds like an elongated introduction that's going to lead to some sort of monster crescendo, but instead you're just continuously getting this really sort of 1970s laced progressive melody that just continues to really shows the dynamism that goes into this, and you can almost see how these tracks could have been really considered for vocalization and transformed into full curved air tracks. Definitely dig the 3-part suite, Baghdad Cafe, Return to Calvary, and Toward Infinity, which is 14.5 minutes, as well as the 14-minute finale in Rose. A lot of these are going to be very varied in their lengths. I definitely also dig what Free Tibet is able to do at its near 10-minute mark. This is a smooth listen, and it's also one that's enjoyable if you're looking for something just to be nice background noise while you're perhaps doing something else or perhaps reading a book. So scope this one out if you're curious. Built to Last by the long-running power metal group Hammerfall. Remember the first track I ever heard from these guys was Templars of Steel. What an introduction that was to what this power metal group is really able to accomplish. And this is an interesting album, at least for me, with all the side knowledges that I have. The first track, Bring It, immediately reminds me of The Rock, which is hysterical, and then there's a track called Twilight Princess. So, The Legend of Zelda and The Rock in a power metal album. Somebody Photoshop that and send it to me over at The Cover Killer on Twitter. That's just going to be hysterical. But this is an album that also displays why Hammerfall is seen with such high regarded power metal, considering they have smooth melody. It's just something that showcases some of that swiftness and overall focus on composition that you got from the 1980s heavy metal. There's a little bit of a draw point from bands such as Blind Guardian that goes back a little bit further to bands such as Judas Priest. So there's that pure heavy metal instinct that then gets added on with the power metal. That then has become what Hammerfall's signature has grown to be known for. This is another album that, for power metal fans, will give them a little bit of something to rejoice, although I will say that the track Second to None, which was the finale off of this album, felt like a bit of a wasted opportunity, considering it sort of softens its way through its 5-minute and 29 seconds real lasting impression for this disc, instead of really sort of thrusting toward a finish. Whenever you think of a track such as Second to None, you immediately believe that it's going to be one of direct assault, as opposed to what you get with this cut. Overall, not too bad. Once again, power metal fans have something to rejoice. Let's move forward. Did I say we were done with power metal? I hope I didn't, because we're not. We have Civil War with the last full measure. Now, this band is comprised of ex-members of Sabaton, who we spoke about them earlier this year in a full album review for their most recent album. This is a band that has similar ideas as them, mainly because of their ex-membership. They like to speak about battle, they like to speak about war, and they have this like very heavy power metal approach that is one that even sometimes dabbles into the neoclassical. It's really kind of neat. And this is an album that's a lot of fun, considering the varied influence that you get. Road to Victory may seem like the vocals are straining a little bit, and that the overall composition doesn't feel like it makes a lot of overall sense for this opener. But then whenever you get to Deliverance, Savannah, into Tombstone, my God, it really starts to open up, and you start to see the full breadth and power of what this band has at their disposal, and it is quite a marvel at times. The vocal range is one that expands as you get deeper into this, and once you get down to tracks such as Gangs of New York and Gladiator, so does some of the topicality of this album. It's funny that this has a track on it called America, considering what just happened in America. Now, is there any sort of, no, there really isn't. This is a fun album to listen to, principally because, like Sabaton, I like the idea of really theming each and every track with an overall commonplace idea. It gives it a concept album approach without being a concept album, and plus Civil War is just kind of a fun group to enjoy whenever you're just kind of sitting around looking for something to really jam to of the power metal distinction. Instruments are all solid, everything was nicely surprising. I like this a lot. I think you will too. Definitely check out The Last Full Measure by Civil War. It's definitely been a big week, and it's been one that was begun really with the Chicago Cubs winning the World Series, something that most of us thought would never happen. Starkill is a band that's from Chicago, Illinois, and released their brand new album Shadow Sleep last Friday, which almost seemed complimentary to the event, though definitely didn't match the scope and, time that was involved between previous successes. Starkill just releasing an album a few years ago. For the Cubs, it took 108 years. But this is symphonic metal, and it also has a power metal tied to it, a little bit of the traditional heavy side, and even some metalcore. There's a little bit of everything that you get within this 13-track affair. None of the tracks supersede the 5-minute mark, with the longest being 4 minutes and 40 seconds, the track Ruin, which is song number 7. And I like the balance that they're able to deliver while still not removing the pulse from the accelerator. At times, this is an album that can slow up a little bit. We see that on tracks such as Cloudless, but at the same time, it just really builds up the atmosphere so that the aggression can come forward. The synths on this are definitely top-notch, and it definitely delivers a real strong, powerful emotion that is elicited from each and every lyric that you hear. And that overall backbone of just strong melody and just riffing gives this something for a little bit of everybody. I think that the second half of this disc does sort of peter out a little bit, but at the same time, Starkill is still a young band, this only being their 3rd album. They still have a great future ahead of them, so definitely check out this group if you haven't already. 7 in, and we finally have our surprise of the week. Crippled Black Phoenix with Bronze. This 12-track affair is one of progressive rock, a little bit of progressive metal, a little bit of instrumental, a little bit of just building atmosphere. And it's funny that we actually end with something like this considering how we began. This is an album that I feel is best represented by its usage of space. Songs such as Dead Imperial Bastard, which starts off this album, doesn't really give you much to work with. It's one that's very minimal, but then it goes into Deviant Burials, which is able to offer you your first taste of lyricism, and it is one that is strong considering how weak it may sound. It's almost like Thom Yorke is really part of a progressive rock band, which some may argue Radiohead has some partial ties to. That soft register that his vocals offer only seem to cap off the atmospherics that are really given by the instrumentalization and overall composition that Crippled Black Phoenix employed throughout this album. And really it seems that as the tracks get a little bit longer, a lot more building blocks come aboard in order to deliver a full-length experience. Tracks such as Turn to Stone or Scared and Alone on the second half is where this really starts to build. This is also where the song lengths start to really become a lengthy proportion. 7 to 9 minutes, really delivering a strong second half considering it's building on various themes. And considering all of what we have sort of working in play here, it makes every composition really feel very unique, but also extremely varied, giving this album the feel of not schizophrenia, but rather a lot of different ideas coming together for kind of the perfect storm. This is a surprising album considering how it began and what it ended up becoming. These 12 tracks, and really it's quite a lengthy disc also at 76 minutes, but it's one that certainly is worth the very interesting journey that you kind of get with it. Based off of that, this is definitely highly recommended. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, 7 recently released albums that you definitely need to check out. My sick ass is going to lie down. So no crafty outro for you guys today. Let me know if there's anything that I missed or anything upcoming that you are very excited about. I'm coverkillernation. I'll chat with you guys next time. Take care. Hi guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to know more recently released albums from the past year that you should check out, scope out the playlist to your left. On the playlist to your right, check out the albums that I gave full reviews to here in 2016. You can also subscribe to the channel and check out my Patreon. Thanks again to anybody who supported the channel, and have a lovely, lovely day.